Crazy dirt late model bodies were a hot topic earlier this year, but we haven't really heard anything since the summer. So where do we stand today on that template system in development and potential rule changes? I'll give you a full update today, including several new developments. We'll also talk some more dome stuff, updated Chili Bowl entries, and more. Let's go. It's Monday, December 2nd. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. When it comes to Kubota, shortcuts just won't cut it. Bring your equipment to them for thorough inspections and unparalleled service. Kubota prides itself on quality and efficiency using genuine parts. Don't settle for less. Choose the best for your Kubota. With their service, you're not just getting maintenance, you're investing in the longevity of your equipment. The Kubota team is committed to ensuring your machinery is reliable, efficient, and ready for any challenge. Join the Kubota family today and experience service you can trust. Contact your local Kubota dealer today to book your appointment. To find a Kubota dealer, open the My Kubota app and tap the dealers button at the bottom or visit KubotaUSA.com. I had an email last week from a show watcher asking me if there had been any updates to the situation around dirt late model bodies. Because of that, I wanted to dive back in to see where we are, as there have been some updates. If you're a regular watcher or listener of the show, you know that the skewed bodies are something we've talked about multiple times in 2024. And it went all the way back to the start of the season when that wild photo of Devin Moran's car made the rounds online after a test day at Golden Isles. The photo was taken by Chris Anderson, and it stirred up a bunch of conversation about how skewed and twisted the bodies had become. I even compared them on this show to the twisted sister bodies we saw in NASCAR in the early and mid-2000s. Back then, NASCAR reined them in with a template system that combined all of the individual area templates into a large car template they basically dropped down onto the car called the Claw. And then later in the year, I got word that there was a template system being developed for the late model bodies, and it had started to appear at various races. We first talked about it on the show in April and then again in June when I got some photos of the templates from the Dirt Late Model Dream. My guy Paul Arch got some good photos of it on Austin Kirkpatrick's car. Fellow YouTuber AK, by the way, if you aren't aware, not afraid to experiment when it comes to building dirt late models. That June show was when we also learned that World of Outlaws tech director Kenny Canada had parted ways with the series, and previously he was one of the main drivers behind the template project. Since that June show, I hadn't really heard much about progress or if the template system was still being used and developed. Canada popped up later back on the sprint car side, actually, as the tech director for High Limit after they parted ways with Kevin Naus. Since then, though, the templates have appeared elsewhere and remain in control of the World of Outlaws and series director Steve Francis. They were used again at the World 100 at Eldora in September, supposedly to tech every single car. Initially, the templates were being used on basically a fact-finding mission to see how they address the various problems, with plans on continued changes in development and potentially full implementation into the future. But there were rule changes put in place sometime late summer before the World 100, and those rule changes not really highly publicized. In the Unified Dirt Late Model Car Construction book, under Section 8 for the bodies, additional language was added to Subsection B, that's for nose pieces, Subsection E for front fenders, fender flares, and the hood, and Subsection G for quarter panels. The additions addressed bracing and the orientation of certain pieces in those specific areas. The rulebook on the Lucas website shows those areas highlighted in red if you want to see them for yourself, but the Outlaw rulebook doesn't have them highlighted. The changes are there, but they're not highlighted. As for the future of the templates, work continues and conversations are ongoing about changes and improvements to them. It's likely that when everyone is together at the PRI show in a few weeks, that more will be talked about. Some friends in the industry have heard the templates will be in use during Speed Weeks come January. In between, though, I have been told that not much change is expected for the car construction rules, basically from where we are now into next season. Another point I want to bring up here, and this one, not my original idea, this was brought up by a late model friend, but the almost complete lack of an off-season now in dirt late model racing has created this curious issue where rule changes are likely harder to implement, especially much bigger ones. When the off-season was a few months, it gave the series and the teams time to work through ideas and changes and implement them and see how they worked and all of that. But with only a handful of weeks between the Dome and then the Wild West Shootout, that timeline is drastically smaller. And with the holidays, probably not large enough to really make anything big happen. The series can obviously still make changes when they feel it's necessary, mostly between the Outlaws and Lucas, like the ones we just discussed, but sweeping or drastic alterations become much more difficult. Looking ahead beyond what was changed in 2024, it sounds like some other areas under scrutiny for future added regulation include the decks and the body sides. So here on December 2nd, that's what I know at the moment after conversations with several folks. Rules are always a moving target. Everyone has very strong opinions about what works and what doesn't and areas that should be being looked at. And I know cost containment continues to be a topic of discussion, a hot topic, and for a lot of good reasons. Over to the Gateway Dirt Nationals. Racing starts there on Thursday, and it looks like they are about done with the track build. They had most of the track itself done before Thanksgiving, and then they worked through some detail stuff over the weekend. That included things like fencing. It's pretty crazy to see just how much dirt there is as part of the build. With the banking in the corners, they're basically 2 jersey barriers tall there to kind of hold it all in if you're looking at the image on the screen right now. A quick Google search says jersey barriers are about 32 inches tall, so 64 inches means the track is more than 5 feet deep at the top. That's pretty wild. That's a lot of friggin' dirt. And since we've been sharing paint schemes, here is Brandon Sheppard's B5 for the Dome, just released yesterday. This one, another Night Owl design. It definitely makes you hope that the Rocket House car itself could get a refreshed look, but I don't know that we should hold our collective breaths for this one, but this kind of gives you an idea of what something could look like if they decided to make a change there. If you're a Chili Bowl fan, entries there have risen now to 122. This week is the final week to get in on the discounted pre-entry process, with the deadline set as this Friday. Afterwards, teams can still enter, but it's just a little bit more expensive. Some recent additions to that entry list include Blake Hahn, who has 5 career main event starts. Sprint car driver Cy Lynch is entered for the first time ever, and Jeff Taylor will have a pair of late model drivers in his car, including Nick Hoffman and Gordy Gundaker. Gundaker will be a rookie, while this will be Hoffman's 5th Chili Bowl. He's still looking for his first main event start, with his best result coming last year when he was 18th in a Saturday B-Main. You can find that full entry list at chilibowl.com, and you can see a lot of history and stats for the event, including results for every feature going back to the beginning in 1987 over at dirttracker.com/analytics/chilibowl. All right, that's the Daily Show for today. We will keep digging all off season long with the show, but I did want to throw out there, if you have ideas or topics or suggestions for things that you'd like to see me talk about here, feel free to lob those out. This is the time of the year where we can do some other stuff, maybe deep dive some things, do Q&As, things like that. So drop your suggestions in the comments or email or message me. After this week, the racing really goes quiet kind of for the rest of the month, and then we'll have to wait until January really for things to get rolling again. You got Tulsa Shootout kind of right at the end of December. Then we'll get into Wild West Shootout. Then we'll get into Chili Bowl and Speed Weeks and all of those things. But anyway, hope you guys have a great Monday out there. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.